One of the things that has been very illustrative of the cracks is the Nick Fuentes issue and the fact that Tucker Carlson hosted Nick Fuentes, who is a white supremacist and a racist and anti-Semite. I mean, all of the ists and the isms, that's what this guy is. And if you just go online and look at some of the things he says, and you'll understand just what I'm talking about. The president, I asked Marjorie Taylor Greene about him, and she just said it's up to Tucker, and she distanced herself from his views. President Trump did not distance himself from Nick Fuentes' views. Listen to what he said.
We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
Now, he did have dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West at Mar-A-Lago, which he was reminded of. I want to show this. This is Nick Fuentes saw what the president said or didn't say, and he said this. Thank you, Mr. President.
I mean, it's pretty remarkable. I mean, for Trump to say, I don't know who he is come on. I mean, this is the leader of his party. This is someone who consumes so much media. And this is something that has been dividing his base so intensely since Tucker Carlson had this interview. So that is just doesn't seem any bit of reality. But also, I guess, not a total surprise. But, the president also talked about, I had dinner with him and Kanye West. Kanye West has also spewed terrible anti-Semitic rhetoric, just like Nick Fuentes. And Trump didn't seem to distance himself from that.
But I think this is indicative of him not wanting to stop the fractures within the MAGA movement that are becoming wider and wider by the day.
Yeah, and if you remember during the campaign, after that dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye West at Mar-a-Lago, there was a large freak out within Trump's senior staff trying to put in new protocols. I wrote about this in my book at the time. They were really concerned that people were getting to Trump, and they set up protocols to try to keep those sorts of people away from him. And so this, Jackie, to your point, this is convulsing the MAGA movement, the conservative wing of the party. And it's a concern because for Trump and the Republicans, because they've been so united behind him at every step of the way. And we're seeing so many fractures.
Yeah, and exactly. And the question, one of the reasons why it's so important right now is where is this movement going to go? And the fact that Tucker Carlson has ended up where he is right now, having people like Nick Fuentes and others who are really openly vile in some cases, in other cases just wholeheartedly America first and only America first, that really poses the question of where it goes.
President Trump last night weighed in on a festering issue that has caused something of a civil war within the Republican Party. It's about neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes and whether it's appropriate for prominent conservative media figures such as Tucker Carlson to platform Fuentes without seriously challenging his false and heinous views. This morning, a board member of the powerful conservative think tank, the Heritage Foundation, widely respected Princeton professor Robert George, announced his resignation from Heritage, calling for a, quote, full retraction after Heritage president Kevin Roberts had posted a video last month where he defended his friend Tucker Carlson and Tucker's decision to interview Fuentes. After days of this debate within conservative circles, we finally heard from the president on this topic last night.
We've had some great interviews with Tucker Carlson, but you can't tell him who to interview. I mean, if he wants to interview Nick Fuentes, I don't know much about him, but if he wants to do it, get the word out. Let him, people have to decide. Ultimately, people have to decide.
The neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes replied on Twitter or X, quote, thank you, Mr. President. So there we have it. President Trump expressing no issues with neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes, who has expressed an affinity for Adolf Hitler and regularly traffics in racist, sexist, anti-Semitic filth. Now, some conservatives, such as Senators Ted Cruz and Senator Mitch McConnell, have criticized Tucker Carlson for his very friendly, lengthy interview with Nick Fuentes. Other Republicans have not been so blunt in their condemnation of Fuentes or Carlson, or even condemned either of them. Vice President J.D. Vance, considered the next leader in the MAGA line of succession, he's no stranger to questions about Republicans espousing anti-Semitism in the last few months, following the young Republicans' texting scandal, which was first reported by Politico, which included one message where one of the young Republicans said, quote, I love Hitler. Vice President Vance characterized those expressing outrage as, quote, pearl clutching. And the vice president repeatedly referred to the participants as kids, even though the ages of the people in the group range from 18 to 40. Fuentes is, of course, a Nazi of a more loathsome order than those on that text chain, and he has a history of going after not just Jews, but Vice President Vance. He said a number of nasty things about his wife. Vance himself called Fuentes a total loser in a 2024 CBS interview before the election, after Fuentes attacked his wife Usha Vance and her Indian heritage. Here's just one of these vile moments. A quick warning to our viewers. This condemnation of Vance by Fuentes is not pleasant to listen to.
Now they're all in favor of a fat race mixer who's married to a Jeet who named his son Vivek.
Now, this week and last, I repeatedly asked Vance's office for any comment about this internal war about Fuentes, specifically about Tucker Carlson platforming Fuentes, and there was no response. This weekend, Vance did weigh in on something related to this issue. It had to do with another member of the Carlson family, Tucker's son, Buckley, who works for Vance. And he, Vice President, attacked just some rando on Twitter as a, quote, scumbag, because this woman claimed that Tucker's brother idolizes Nick Fuentes and questioned whether Tucker's son, Buckley, who works for Vance, is a vile bigot, too. We here at CNN have absolutely no idea if Tucker's relatives feel any way about Fuentes. But it is clear from recent Twitter posts that his brother, also named Buckley, supports Tucker's platforming of Fuentes. Again, in August 2024, a few months before being elected, Vice President Vance condemned Fuentes. But since then, since the inauguration, Vice President Vance has weighed in on these issues only to defend people using anti-Semitic or racist language. He certainly hasn't called any of them scumbags. So on this Republican civil war, on whether it's okay to platform Nazis or espouse anti-Semitism, President Trump has weighed in, as has Vice President Vance. President Trump clearly leaning on the idea of free speech to make his point. Yet at the same time, Trump, of course, has no problem trying to get comedians who make fun of him fired. Clearly, neither President Trump nor Vice President Vance are shy about attacking or insulting anyone they don't like. They have opted to not do so when it comes to Nazis like Nick Fuentes. At a time when hate crimes against Jewish Americans are only rising in the United States, the president and the vice president, when it comes to this civil war, they've made their views clear. They're not going to condemn Nazis. They're not going to condemn those who platform them. My panel joins me now. Thanks so much. Why is this so tough, Ashley Davis? Why, like, I mean, by the way, we should note, obviously, this is going on to a lesser extent at this current moment on the left as well.
Well, absolutely. I mean, listen, anti-Semitism in this country, I feel, has been at the forefront more so in the last 3 years than it has been in the, in my adult life. And I think it needs to stop. I mean, we have it on
on both sides.
Yes, we have it on the extreme left. And now, I mean, I think what the president was trying to say is I can't tell Tucker who to interview or not. I'm not trying to defend it, but it needs to stop. And also, actually, the same side attacks on Muslims. I mean, I remember when I was in the White House, President Bush, after 9/11, made sure we read the Quran. Yeah. So we knew that this was not a hijack on their religion. It was terrorist. Yeah. And this is the leadership of this country that needs to happen on both sides of the aisle. It's horrible.
Well, and also I think that what's this divide that's happening in the Republican Party, you haven't seen it before because everybody's been so united around Trump. And now you're looking at 2028 where Trump is not on the ballot anymore. And the Republican Party will need to figure out whether or not they're going to embrace Tucker Carlson, Nick Fuentes, and that side, or whether they're going to speak out against some of that terrible language that you played right there. So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. And how J.D. Vance goes about this. There have been a lot of Republicans like Ted Cruz and others who have spoken out, and you're starting to see these divides within MAGA really occur. And so I agree that they should speak out. And for Donald Trump to say, I'm not going to tell Tucker Carlson what to say or who to interview. I'm sorry, the man tells,
he just told NBC to fire Seth Meyers.
Yeah, I mean, that is constantly happening. He doesn't actually believe that people who oppose his views should be out there and should be interviewed, but yet he believes someone like Nick Fuentes, it's okay to interview. So I find that ironic.
But why do you think now, sorry for interrupting here.
No.
But why Jewish or not really, Jewish people in this country do not vote Republican for the most part. They mostly vote Democrat.
I think it's like 60-40 the last election.
But listen, I mean, like the Republican Party has never, ever not supported the Israeli community,
Right.
especially overseas, and Israel in general.
Right.
So I just don't understand why we're letting ourselves as Republicans get pigeonholed into this conversation, because first of all, who would ever support Nazism or anything else?
Yeah, I don't know.
They've been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.